Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
I don't talk to anybody, you know. I mean, I don't come in and call anybody. I don't talk to any coaches during the season, and it's not because I don't like them or want to talk to them, but you know, I'm busy trying to do what we're supposed to do.
In other words, Nick Saban won't be phoning his old assistant Will Muschamp this week. Friends turn to foes in the Swamp on Saturday night when the third-ranked Crimson Tide travels to face the number 12 Gators. It is going to be rocking in G-Town. We'll get more into the coaching connection between these two a little bit later on in the program. But first, good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Tider Insider TV presented by Buffalo Rock. Once again tonight, we're enjoying ice-cold Pepsi Cola. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. And Rodney, they say defense wins championships. Well, if that is indeed the case, then both these teams ought to be in pretty good shape as far as making a run at a title this season. When you look at the graphic, it will tell you the story. These are national rankings, not SEC. In the SEC, Bama leads across the board. But in total defense, Alabama after 4 weeks is second. Florida is fifth. Rushing defense, the Tide is third. UF is fifth. And scoring defense, which is the ultimate defensive category, I think. Alabama's giving up 8 points a game, good for second in the country. Florida is giving up 9 a game. That is good for fourth. So, Rodney, my first question to you is who has the edge on D?
Well, I think Alabama does if you look at it right at this point, because look, Alabama's already beaten 2 ranked teams. Really, who has Florida played to this point? They beat maybe an okay Tennessee team, we'll see. But certainly I think Alabama's played a little bit tougher schedule going on the road to beat Penn State. I mean, how many teams can say they've held Bobby Petrino's offense to under 250 yards? Incredible defensive performance by Alabama. Again, Florida's personnel may be as talented as anybody in the country.
So you kind of answered my next question for you. You believe Alabama's defense so far has been challenged more than Florida's?
Well, I think so, certainly. And again, I don't think Penn State has necessarily a great offense, but it's, you know, they are Penn State.
Up there. Arkansas does have a great offense.
And well, there's no question about what Arkansas.
I think it'll be proven out.
No question about it. I don't think, again, there's no doubt about what Arkansas can do with Bobby Petrino and the personnel that he has with those receivers and the things that he's done every year. And I think that's going to be, that's an offense that was averaging 47 points a game. Of
course, as far as Florida's concerned, some people seem surprised that they're doing so well defensively, but Will Muschamp's a great defensive coach. And let's not forget, folks, they had a bad year last year. Urban Meyer, after he'd resigned and come back, they just kind of lost their mojo. But he recruited defensive linemen, 4 or 5 five-star guys across that front. I mean, they are talented, they are athletic, and they can run on defense. They're a lot like Alabama. Maybe not as big up front, but as far as speed and aggressiveness and physical talent, they're loaded on dude.
Yeah, you know, you remember a few years ago when Alabama played Texas for the national championship, Will Muschamp was the defensive coordinator for Texas, and they totally tried to shut down Alabama's run, which they weren't really successful doing that, tried to force Alabama to throw the ball. Alabama didn't throw it very well. I think that's what they're going to try to do on Saturday night.
Well, let's talk about Alabama's approach. If you're Jim McElwain, do you think the Tide will be able to run the ball as effectively as they were able to against Arkansas? Do you think they're going to have to open it up more in the passing game, use A.J. McCarron to get the ball downfield to try to loosen up this Florida defense?
Well, I don't necessarily know that they're going to have to throw it more. They're just going to have to throw it more effectively. I mean, when you have guys open, you've got to make the throws. A.J. McCarron has been solid. He was 15 of 20, I believe, last week, so that makes him 30 out of his last 41. Which is pretty good. And, you know, you don't certainly what makes it really good is the fact that he didn't turn the ball over with an interception. So if he can be effective, make some throws, hit a couple of throws down the field, yeah, I think Alabama can wear Florida out running the football later in the game.
Well, you know, Rodney, the last time these two teams met last season at Bryant-Denny Stadium, it was C.J. Mosley, the freshman linebacker, putting the icing on the cake with this pick 6 in the third quarter. But there's a possibility we won't get to see that this Saturday night in the Swamp. I said a possibility because Mosley injured that elbow against Arkansas. He's questionable for Saturday's game against the Gators. Well, still to come on Titv. As promised, we'll discuss more about Nick Saban and Will Muschamp. Quite a storyline there. Also ahead, will I Am Your Father or something like that? See what happened when one reporter used a Star Wars reference with Muschamp. It got interesting, plus our own version of The Empire Strikes Back. Tider Insider TV will also take your phone calls and get to your emails. simply give us a call. You can go ahead and get on the line now if you want to. 348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. But up next, we'll go back to last weekend and look at some of the spectacular plays the Tide had against the Razorbacks. And where does this punt return rank in the all-time great punt returns in Alabama's history? Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only, award-winning Tider Insider TV. Welcome back to TITV. He's Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for joining us tonight. You know, Rodney, one of the most important aspects of a football game is gaining momentum early in the game. First possessions of each half are critical, whether you're on defense or offense. Saturday, Alabama scored its first trip down the field when they lined up to kick a field goal, then spread out the formation through a touchdown pass. And then coming out of the locker room, Bama forced the Hogs to punt, and then this happened when the Tide touched the ball.
Mays gathers it in at the 17. He's got some room. Gets a block. Breeding's got to stop him. Breeding doesn't. Now there's still a chance defensively. Look at Mays. Now he's at the 10. Cuts back. Brilliant run. Marquise Mays.
Well, Rodney, as Alabama fans and people that follow Alabama, we've seen some incredible punt returners over the years. And just over the last 20 years, David Palmer, Tyrone Prothro, Javier Arenas. This one by Mays, though, I mean, have you seen a better one?
Well, I don't want to say I have not seen a better one. David Palmer, some of the returns he made were absolutely. You remember the one against Colorado on the block?
The one against Louisiana Tech.
I mean, he calls that guy still has whiplash that he juked. But, you know, that was a great return.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting about it, and you remember Prothro and Arenas were so explosive, and they called it. But the way, if he goes full speed down the sideline, they're able to get him out of the sideline.
Yeah, right.
When he slowed down, set up the punter, then cut it back, it was really a great play. And I tell you something about Mays, and I know you want to chime in here, but think about this: had Nick Saban not come to Alabama, he would have been at the University of Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Alabama. The previous staff just told him he couldn't be an every down type player as a receiver, that he was too small, so he would only be able to return kicks, and so he wasn't worth the scholarships, basically what they told him. But, you know, you talk about the way he slowed down there, Gary. What you're seeing, I think, is you're starting to see Marquise Mays become more and more comfortable with what he's doing as a punt return guy. He's becoming more instinctive with his play. And so that was, again, it was an outstanding return.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him take another one or two to the house, because you're right, he's really feeling it right now, and he is making a lot of people miss, which no matter how good you set it up and how good the blocking is, to take a punt return back, you got to make some people miss, and he's able to do that. Well, as I mentioned as well, Alabama scored on the opening possession of the game, and they did it in an interesting fashion after being stopped on downs. It's fourth down. They lined up for a field goal, but then they went into a formation. Arkansas, for some reason, didn't call timeout. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Michael Williams came across the formation, had a 300-pound defensive lineman on him, and it was game, set, match. A.J. McCarron with a great throw, Williams with a catch, 37-yard touchdown. By the way, former quarterback Greg McElroy tweeted Saturday that Alabama had been working on that play since, a couple of years ago. But Nick Saban said he was going to try it. He decided pregame that he was going to try it against Arkansas, and it worked beautiful.
You know what's strange when you kind of look back at it? You remember a couple of years ago, and Nick Saban doesn't run many flea flickers, but they ran the flea flicker against Arkansas a couple of years ago, where they a little reverse pitched it back to McElroy, and Julio was as wide open as Michael Williams was there. But again, when you look at that play, people say, well, he's wide open. Sometimes that's the most difficult throw to make. I mean, he put it out there. Michael Williams made the catch.
It's no gimme. Although Bobby Petrino is a top-flight coach, I still don't understand when they come out of the field goal formation, you don't call timeout. Then you either force Alabama to kick the field goal, go for it on fourth down, or, you set up your defense. But they didn't, and it worked out great for the Tide. Set the tempo for that game, and Alabama never looked back. Well, coming up, who will win the battle this weekend of coaching wits, the mentor or the pupil? But up next, we'll show you what a Star Wars opening would look like if Will Muschamp and Nick Saban were in the starring roles. Plus, we'll take your phone calls and get to your emails. There again, the information on the screen. You can give us a call at 205-348-9882 or email us, TITV@WVUATV.com.
What's a Padawan?
You've never seen Star Wars?
Huh?
You guys have a...
I watched Star Wars 1, and after that, I watched Empire Strikes Back, and that's it. I ain't seen nothing after that.
Well,
so I don't know what a Padawan is. You didn't call me a bad name, did you? I don't speak French either.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
That was Will Muschamp on Monday responding to a reporter who, for some reason, tried to use a Star Wars analogy to illustrate her point. In all fairness, we doubt Nick Saban knew what a Padawan was either, and I didn't either. I saw the movies, but we looked it up, so we know what it means. According to Wikipedia, a Padawan is one of the ranks of Jedi, specifically a youngling who successfully completes training, then undergoes Padawan training under the tutelage of a Jedi Master, a Jedi Knight. These are also called apprentices and Padawan learners. In short, the reporter was getting at a student-meet-teacher reference. Regardless of what will happen Saturday, it's obvious that both men share a mutual respect for the other.
You know, Will's doing a really, really good job. Did a great job for me for a long time. Great job for us for a long time. He's been a really, really good coach and done a good job everywhere he's coached.
When you turn the film on, you see a physically tough football team that plays with fundamentals. And that's what he is, and that's what he preaches every day, and it certainly carries over on film as far as who they are and what they are.
Of all the guys that that we've had on our staffs through the years, probably worked the hardest, did the best job, had the most passion, was probably as well liked by the players as anyone.
Nick never asked me to do anything as an assistant coach he didn't do as a head coach.
I can't jump up and down on the sidelines anymore like he does. I can tell you that.
He's a guy that works extremely hard. He's got a great work ethic in what he does. And so, again, I think that as much as anything you attribute, guys appreciate what he does from a head coaching position.
It's really hard to find guys that have that kind of passion and intensity that relate well to everybody in the organization. You know, he believes in the fundamental, you know, discipline, hard work, commitment, you know, those types of things that I think are sort of fundamental to being successful.
Ask if there's an advantage. There is no advantage. I mean, he knows me as well as I know him. So there is no advantage in this game. And thank goodness for the 90,000 people in the swamp and for the millions watching. He or I will not take a snap Saturday night. So that's the very positive thing in the game as we move forward here.
Well, Muschamp's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking about Star Wars now. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I could see Coach Saban as Darth Saban.
Well,
and maybe Will Muschamp is Muschamp Skywalker or Obi-Wan Muschamp.
Well, Muschamp is right. Neither one of those guys will take a snap, but I guarantee you their influence will play heavily in this game.
Well, having said that, Rodney, I mean, they both want to say that, you know, neither coach has an advantage, but you know, coaching-wise, it is Muschamp's first head coaching job. You know, Saban have an advantage here, you think?
Oh, definitely, in my opinion, Gary. You're looking at a guy, again, Will Muschamp, probably going to be an outstanding coach, but look at in terms of the experience, Nick Saban's had how many big games? And Will Muschamp, this is his first time out. So certainly, you know, they're going to have his team. He's going to have his team prepared. Charlie Weiss has been through a lot of games, obviously, but again, it starts at the top, and Nick Saban, in my opinion, has the advantage.
Florida certainly glad this game is at home. That is an advantage for them, no doubt about it. We saw what happened to them last year in Tuscaloosa. All right, time to take some phone calls. First up tonight is Philip in Birmingham. Philip, thanks for holding. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Gary, you should drink a Diet Pepsi.
I know I should drink a Diet Pepsi. Thanks for the I keep telling our folks they need to give me some Diet Pepsis. Thanks for the thought. What else is on your mind? Is that it? Philip, you there? All right. Well, he wanted also put the question back up. Will Alabama continue its quarterback rotation this week? They hadn't really rotated them a lot lately.
Well, and this week, no, I wouldn't think so. I think that, you know, as long as A.J.'s healthy and that he'll be the starter, and unless there's an opportunity for Phillip to come in and play, I don't see that rotation.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I don't. I'm still just laughing about the Diet Pepsi. All right, let's go to Bessemer and talk with John. John, what's going on?
Gary, what's up, man?
I'm hanging in there, man.
Roll Tide, man.
I hear you.
Hey, man, is Alabama favored this week?
They are, John, and right around 5 points right now. You know, it's a game that, as I said, Florida has the home field advantage. It's going to be rocking down there, you know, but Alabama is the favorite. If it was here in Tuscaloosa, I bet you that line would be, you know, 9 or 10. But 5 sounds about right to me.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny when you look at this Florida-Alabama series over the years. Alabama dominated for so long, and then Florida kind of, once Steve Spurrier got here, they took control of the series, and Alabama just couldn't seem to get a win. And then Mike Dubose had those 2 wins in 1999, and now since Nick Saban's been here, they lost the game in 08, but they dominated the SEC championship game in 09, and then last year, you know, you sensed that Florida was becoming a little bit intimidated of Alabama.
You know, that's an interesting point, too, because when they first, you know, Alabama won the 92 championship game, then Florida owned the Tide for a while. But if Alabama wins Saturday night, they'll have a winning record against Florida since the league split into divisions in 1992.
Yeah,
so that's
Florida
pretty good.
won several.
Not many people can say that in this league. And, of course, Alabama overall leads the series, I think, 22-14. All right, let's go to Pelham and talk with Don. Don, welcome into the program.
Yeah, this year Alabama hasn't used the Wildcat, and I was wondering if they were going to use it against Florida or maybe later on in the season.
Well, Don, you know it's in their repertoire, and you're absolutely right. They have not used it. Used it a ton the last, well, 2 years ago it was very effective. Last year, not as much. You know, Coach Saban hasn't said anything about it, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, you know, since they've struggled on the goal line particularly, if they're down around the 2 or 3 yard line, they might direct snap it to Richardson or Lacey. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know for sure.
The Wildcat actually has many names, as you know, depending on who's back there. If it's Marquise Mays, like it was last year against Florida, don't they call it the Bobcat?
I think
they call it the Bobcat, and he threw Michael Williams a touchdown pass. So, you know, you could see some sort of variation against Florida. You know, it just depends. We'll see. All
right, we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we'll have more of your phone calls and emails. Phone lines are open right now at 205-348-WVUA, so give us a call. I'm going to enjoy some more of my Pepsi. Next week, I'm getting a Diet Pepsi. We'll be back after this. Back here on Tider Insider, taking your phone calls. Let's go back to our phone line and talk with Dirk in Summerton. Dirk, welcome into the program. Dirk, you with us? Going once, going twice, gone on Dirk. Wants to know will Alabama put more emphasis on kicking and punting more efficiently? And I have heard a lot of people talking about this, Rodney, because when you look for weaknesses on the Alabama football team so far, you don't find many. The return game has been great. The coverage game has been great. The punting game, the average is down. The kickoffs, although maybe some of that's by design when they kick short to a spot. But a lot of people talking about the kicking game. It is, you know, a little bit ironic, I guess, that you've got a punter on scholarship, Jay Williams, who has been beaten out by Cody Mandel, a walk-on, and then a scholarship kicker in Cade Foster, who does handle the kickoff duties and long field goals, but Jeremy Shelley, a walk-on, handles the short field goals. Your thoughts on the kicking and punting game?
Well, they've struggled. I mean, Shelley, missed 2 fairly short-range field goals here this past week. And, you know, Cody struggled some, although I thought he hit the ball a little bit better in this past game against Arkansas, had 2 or 3 over 40 yards, so that was certainly an improvement. And, you know, but again, the field goal kicking, you've got to get points when you have opportunities, and you can't afford to miss field goals. You know, I know Shelley missed a couple of short-range kicks last year, but he's been, you know, he's somewhat consistent. So, again, and as far as you mentioned about Cade Foster, does have a strong leg, but maybe that is by design on the returns. And Alabama has done a great job on coverage, but he did reach the end zone 1 time last week.
All right, let's stay in Tuscaloosa and talk with our good buddy, CB. CB, what's up? CB. All right, are we having a phone issue here? If the SEC is the best...
It's still Dirk. Hello.
All right, we got Dirk still on the line there, folks.
Yeah, I think y'all misunderstood my question. My question was not the field goals, but to kick the ball more in the end zone when you kick it off.
Okay, Dirk. Well, yeah, we kind of addressed that too, and sorry about the confusion there. Yeah, I think everybody'd like to see a guy just rear back and nail it in the end zone every time, but, you know, maybe he's kicking to the point where it's right around the end zone. Like we said, they seem to be kicking to a spot a lot and setting up their coverage, which has been very effective.
Yeah, and they're kicking to it seems like to a side, to a particular side. So, again, you know, I don't know if they feel like he can't consistently put the ball in the end zone, so they spot it like that, or what.
All right, let's take a timeout, and we'll be back with more right after this. All right, we're back, and CB had been holding. So, CB, go ahead real quickly. What you got?
I know you ain't short on time. The SEC is dynamite, bro. I mean, I ain't got a dog in the race, but I don't understand adding teams. You know, what do y'all think?
Well, CB, I'll tell you this. I think, honestly, the SEC would have preferred not to have added any teams. I think they liked it the way they had it at 12. But, Rodney, it looked like expansion was going to blow up. A&M contacted the SEC, and quite frankly, I think the SEC felt like they were a good school and didn't want to get completely left behind, so they accepted Texas A&M, and now they're at an odd number. At some point, they've got to go to 14, I would think.
Well, I'm with CB. I'd rather have left it the same, but that's just not the way it's going to be. So,
yeah,
you know, Texas A&M's a good addition.
May go through next year with 13, but eventually they'll have to get that 14th team. Okay, all right, time to predict the game in the Swamp. Florida and Alabama on Saturday night, 7 o'clock the kick. Rodney, how do you see it?
Well, you know, when you look at this game, Gary, to me, you look at Nick Saban, been in so many big games. This is the first big game for Will Muschamp. These players for Alabama have been in Saban's system 4 or 5 years. They're still trying to get acclimated down in Florida to Will Muschamp's system. Alabama 23-14.
You know, I really like this Florida defense, and I like Will Muschamp's intensity, and he's had good defenses everywhere that he's been, and they got a lot of talent. Offensively, they're not really hitting on all cylinders. Even in the pro-style attack, Brantley still not getting the ball downfield, but with Demps and Rainey, they got a couple of guys that if you miss on them and they get into space, they're gone. I don't care how good you are defensively, good you are on defense. Having said that, Alabama's got the better football team. If they play well, they're going to win. I think they will. Just about with you, Rodney. 24-14, I like the Tide and that defense to get it done down in the Swamp. We shall see on Saturday night. Well, that's going to do it for our show for tonight. It's dinner time. This evening, we're at the Pottery Grill over in Northport. Come and see us. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can find it on our website later on this evening, WVUATV.com. So for Rodney Orr, our producer, John Huddleston, our director, Jonathan Newman, and the rest of our TITV crew, I'm Gary Harris. We'll see you again next week. Good night.